All right, guys, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Easter. Obviously, it's not ideal timing, but we are 4 weeks out from race day. So I wanted to get some information out there um, just to be transparent with everybody with everything we have going on. Give people plenty of time to ask questions, make accommodations, things like that. First and foremost, welcome. I'm crazy excited to be hosting the big deal at Great Seal. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Chris Stengel. I own Run Fluent. We're going on 5 years now of coaching runners, primarily trail runners, ultra runners. We work with OCR athletes and some road runners as well. Uh, and ultra running's really my big passion. Great Seal, the park where we're hosting this race, is where I actually ran my first ultra marathon, which was a 50 miler. And believe it or not, that was the last ultra marathon to actually be held in this park. So it's kind of coming full circle that we are the first ultra that I host will be the next ultra from when I ran my first. So it's pretty exciting for me. These are my hometown trails. I lived in Chillicothe most of my life. Ran those trails daily for several years. So I never know every step of the course. Very excited to show it to all of you who have never been there. It's really a phenomenal course, and we'll get into that a little bit more here in a few. But just to kind of go over some of the logistics of what's going on, for those of you, I'm sure you all know, it's a 25K loop course. Um, the course itself is almost entirely single track trail. Lots of rolling hills. There's really nothing flat out there. Nothing too huge, but it is rolling hills the entire 15.5 miles. There is a GPX file that's been posted on the event page on Facebook. If you need that, just kind of comment in that group page or on that event page, and we can bring that back to the top if you prefer to have a GPX file. Majority of the course is like I said, one way, single track. Um, Everything will be marked with pink flagging. I have these pink flags that are on clothespins that'll be clipped to everything. These are what we call confidence flags, basically reminding you all the time that yes, you are going the right way. Also markings, all turns will be marked with these little pink flags. So not just the streamers and the trees, these will be down by your feet. So those of you who are familiar with trail running know that you're usually looking at the ground, not up in the trees. So anytime there's going to be a turn, you're going to see several of these telling you exactly where to go. There's also a lot of signage going to be out there. And these are very self-explanatory. If you don't know, if you can't follow the instructions on these signs, then we have bigger problems. Um, Almost all of these large signs will be in the main park area, where there can be some confusion. If you're familiar with Great Seal Park, the main park is where the Ireland shelter is, where our start finish line is. So the 5K course is going to kind of come in and out of the 25K loop. So that's where it can be most confusing. So that's where there will be a lot of signage to be very descriptive and tell you exactly where to go. As beautiful as Great Seal is, it does come with its limitations. It's a relatively small park. It's long and narrow, so there are a few sections where there's one trail going from one side of the park to the other, so there is two-way traffic on that part. It will be marked accordingly. It'll tell you accordingly, which way you should be going, which way you'll be turning. But if you see somebody running back at you, don't think that you're going the wrong way. They've just either been a lot faster than you or a lot slower than you. But there's one small area of two-way traffic, and then there's another area that's probably a little over a quarter mile that's two-way traffic up on top of the ridge. But there's nowhere to turn off of that, so it's going to be very obvious that you're still going in the appropriate direction. What else? Like I said, course markings will be very, very evident. We kind of pride ourselves on kind of over marking courses. We don't want to be ridiculous about it, but we also don't want people to get lost. With that being said, inevitably somebody will get off course. It happens at every single race I've ever been to. The biggest thing I can suggest is one, if you have the capabilities of downloading the GPX file, do that, use it. If not, just study the course a little bit, be familiar with, hey, I'm going up and over this hill, and then I know that we're going to run this ridge for 3 miles before I turn again. Just having a little bit of knowledge about the course can save you in any moment of confusion, but it will be marked very, very well. I don't know if any of you have run any of Sean Run Bum Blanton's races, but one of his famous sayings is the easiest way to get lost is following the person in front of you. And I echo that. He says that all the time, and it's very, very true. Make sure you're giving yourself space between the runner in front of you and where you're running. You should be, at least 3 or 4 strides behind somebody in front of you. One for safety, and two to see these course markings, so you're not just blindly following somebody ahead. Aid stations, we have 3 main aid stations. The start finish line, obviously, will have full aid there. We will have Rocky Road Aid Station, which is only like 3.8 miles into the race. But that does include two of the bigger climbs of the course. So it's a long 3.8 miles. But that's where your first full aid station will be. Then your next aid station is the Lick Run Road aid station. So those are our 3 main ones: the start finish line, Rocky Road, and Lick Run Road. Now, Rocky Road, you're going to hit twice per loop because that's in that one-way section, or excuse me, the two-way section of the trail on top of the ridge. So with that being said, you have essentially 4 aid stations in 15 miles. So the furthest you go without aid is 5.1 miles. Whatever that means for you on hydration wise, let that be said, that we're not mandating any volume of fluids for you to carry. I would highly suggest probably a liter or at least 500 milliliters per person. But if you're a elite runner and you're really, really racing this, you could probably do it with a handheld, 12, 14 ounces of water, as long as it's not a hot day. But I wouldn't suggest that for most people. Bethany will get to that shortly, I promise. But the aid stations, like I said, full aid, 3 different areas. One of them you're hitting twice. So full aid 4 times per lap. That's pretty good for a 25K. There will also be a hydration station, which is just water and electrolytes. That is really for the 5K course, but you guys are going to run by it as well. So by all means, use it if you need it. It's very close. It's only like a mile from the finish line. But if you need to refill your water there, go ahead and do it. This race also is for the ultra runners, or the 25K and the 50K, is primarily a cupless race. So whatever water bottles you decide to carry, and then we highly suggest carrying like a collapsible, reusable cup. So if you want sodas at the aid station, or ginger ale, Coke, Gatorade, whatever it is we have at the aid stations, if you want that and you don't want it put into your handheld water bottle or your bladder in your pack, carry a collapsible cup with you. The only place on course that we will have cups will be at that hydration station. I don't expect, a 5K runner to carry a handheld or a hydration pack with them. So we will have cups there, but they will only be there while the 5K is going on. And then I'm going to go out there and pull them. It's not to be mean. It's not to, make things more difficult on the people running the longer courses. It's just 100% to keep the forest clean and to cut back on the litter and the waste out there that we're going to have to clean up at the end of the day. Aid stations, we can go ahead and go over that. Really, I haven't even decided fully what's going to be provided. There will be water there. There will be an electrolyte mix there. Whether it be, it most likely will be Endurelite Hydrate Elite, which is the hydration electrolytes that I use, that I race with, and who I'm sponsored by. Then we will also do plenty of real food snacks. There'll be pretzels, mandarin oranges. One of my personal favorites that I use when I'm racing is Nutella wraps. So just simple, like a tortilla with Nutella in it. There'll be all the salty stuff, potato chips, pretzels. I haven't decided if we're going to do any hot food. But if we do, it'll be like cheese quesadillas or grilled cheese at one or the other aid station. Being that it's a 50K, it's not like you're out there all night long that we will necessarily need hot food. But we may end up providing it. Just kind of depends on logistics of getting everything to where we need to get it to. We have, tons of volunteers that have already signed up to cover the aid stations. So I'm super grateful for them. We can always use more volunteers. So if y'all have friends, family that are going to be riding along with you that want something to do for a few hours, by all means, have them find myself or my wife, Evie, and we can put them to work for sure. We have special shirts for our volunteers that are specifically for them. We make sure they're definitely taken care of, and they're not having a bad experience out there, and still have time to see their runners. Kind of going along with the aid stations, we'll talk about drop bags and crewing. 25K runners and 50K runners both are allowed to have one drop bag. Technically, you can have two. You can leave one at the start finish line if you're a 50K runner. And access that when you go, before you go back out for your second loop. But the 25K runners and the 50K runners can have a drop bag that will be taken to the Lick Run aid station. So what we ask is that you bring your drop bag either to packet pickup the night before or the morning of, as early as possible. I'll literally have you guys just kind of throwing them in the back of my truck. And as soon as we start the race, I'll take them down to the Lick Run aid station and get them all organized for you guys. Speaking of packet pickup, we didn't really discuss that. The night before, on the 5th, May 5th, we will be doing packet pickup, pre-race packet pickup at 50 West, which most of you, I don't think any of you are from Chillicothe, or if you've been down there, there's a little brew pub right downtown. Chillicothe, great food, great beer. So from 4 to 7 on the 5th, you can come pick up your packets early if you would like. If you can't make it there, we will be doing race day packet pickup as well at 6 a.m. But that only gives us an hour before the start. So as many people as can pick them up the night before is much appreciated. But yes, race day packet pickup is 6 a.m. The 50K and 25K start at 7 a.m. And then the 5K will start at 8 a.m. It is listed as 8 a.m. in the description on our event page. We've been talking about 8 a.m. There was originally the newsletter that originally went out. We had the 5K starting at 9 a.m. So anybody that has any questions about the 5K, it is at 8 a.m. The main reason that I changed it was because if which we do have multiple very fast people running the 25K. If they run blistering pace, they may be back within 2 hours. And I don't want to have finishers already coming in as we're trying to start the 5K. I don't care who's finishing at the same time, but trying to start an event and have finishers coming in at the same time would be a disaster. So that's why we're going to get the 5K rolling right at 8 o'clock. So sorry, I kind of backtracked there to cover that. But again, with the drop bags, I will have those at the Lick Run aid station. We will have them organized by bib number. So your name and bib number both need to be clearly displayed on your drop bags. So we will organize them by bib number. Once you get there, you should be able to recognize your own bag, hopefully, or you do whatever you need to do so you can recognize it and access it quickly. There will be like a tarp that it's sitting on. And then there will be another area that will have a tarp that says return bags. So if you're a 25K runner and you're going to want your drop bag before the end of the day, then throw it in the return pile. Because I'm going to periodically drive by that aid station, and every time I see bags in that return pile, I'm going to take those back to the start finish line. But I don't have time to sit there and figure out who's a 25K runner, who's a 50K runner. So that's why there's going to be separate piles. If you want to leave it there, if you're a 50K runner and you're like, hey, I'm going to need this again on the next loop, just leave it right where it is. If you're finished with it, put it in the return pile. If anybody has any questions about that, please ask, because I want to make sure everybody has what they need when they need it and everybody gets back their things as quickly as possible. As far as crews are concerned, the only people we're allowing to have a crew are 50K runners. And this is purely a logistics thing. The Lick Run aid station really doesn't have a ton of parking. And if we get a bunch of mountain bikers out there riding that day, then there will be even less parking because that's where they tend to park a lot. So we have 40 plus people signed up for the 50K, so we shouldn't see more than that many cars in that area. Please don't push that, with 25K runners. We may end up actually giving parking passes or something to the 50K runners just to alleviate any issues. This is our first race at this park, and the last thing we want to do is have issues blocking the road and sheriffs having problems with us being out there. Getting to and from the Lick Run aid station as a runner, you will cross the road twice. So that's the only time you're going to see any asphalt in this race. You will cross over into the Lick Run aid station from Shawnee Ridge, and then you will go kind of run up and around the Lick Run side of Great Seal Park, and then come back down and you will cross over Lick Run Road in a different area. You do not come back down to the Lick Run aid station. So once you leave Lick Run aid station, if you're a 25K runner, you will not see it again. 50K runners, you'll see it again in 15 and a half plus miles. Again, crew, you can do anything for your 50K runners that you need as long as it's at the Lick Run aid station or the start finish line. I don't want people trying to access their runners anywhere else on the course because honestly, there's zero parking anywhere else on the course. The only other place you could get to them would be maybe where they cross Lick Run Road again, and there is no parking and there's kind of a blind curve there. So there's a horrible spot to try to be standing on the side of the road or parking on the side of the road. And then where Rocky Road aid station is a closed road. So there's only one way up and one way out. And if everybody tried to go up there and turn around, it would be an absolute disaster. And that's exactly why we're not allowing crew to go there. We will have porta potties at both or all major aid stations. So the start finish line, there will be several there. There will be one at the Rocky Road aid station and one at the Lick Road aid station. I really put those there primarily for my volunteers, but if you need them as a runner, by all means use them. What else do we need to cover? Sorry, I tend to ramble a little bit. You got too many thoughts in my head. Timing this year will be it's electronic timing, but it's not chip timing. We use an app with an iPad and we manually click your timing, but it does do everything automatically for us, does the placements, does the separate events, everything else. So it's kind of a flawless system. With an event this size, you know, it's not, we don't have 500 runners. We're going to be probably around 175 runners. So it's very easy for us to do it this way. And all the results will be available online as soon as we get back to Wi-Fi once we leave there. With that, placement wise, we do awards will be for the top 3 finishers, male and female, of each distance. So top 3 male females of 5K, 25K, and 50K will receive overall awards, which are nice plaques made by Bree from Wicked Skin. Every single finisher will receive a finisher medal, which is again made by Bree. Anybody that can run the 50K in less than 6.5 hours receives a special award that I call the Golden Goat Award. It's basically a really big version of our medal that has some gold paint on it, and it will be personalized with your name, the date, and your finisher time. Those I pre-ordered like 10. Just guessing, you know, I don't think we're going to have 10 people run under 6.5 hours. It's very tough to do that out there. But I pre-ordered 10 to where you can physically get the award, and then the little customized tag will be mailed to you as soon as Bree can get those made. If we have more than 10 people achieve that, then obviously those after 10 will have to get their entire award mailed to them. But I think we should have enough to cover that. Bethany, yes, most people should have cell service at Great Seal. It's pretty close to town. I've never had an issue with cell service out there. Now, if you run our event in the fall, the one in September that's at Tar Hollow, there's almost no cell service out there. But at Great Seal, you should have cell service regardless of what carrier you use. What else? We talked about awards, top 3 overall, the Golden Goats finisher awards. We also do cash prizes for our top finisher of each distance, male and female. So as of right now, the 5K will be 50K or $50 for the first place male and female. 25K will be $100 for first place male and female, and same for the 50K. Unless we get a significant amount of more registrations before race day, those will be the amounts we're giving away. About 2,800 feet per loop on the elevation gain. So it's definitely a lot of climbing. Again, it's there. I think the longest single climb is about 450 feet. And that's Sugarloaf Mountain, which you'll hit in the first mile of the race. Beyond that, it really does just kind of roll. There's some tough uphills, there's some tough downhills, there's some switchbacks. There's literally a little bit of everything that you could ever want in a trail is in this event. If you're not super well versed in running trails, I just say on some of these downhills are very technical and very steep. Take your time on them. There's nothing you're going to do on one of these downhills to win a race or to gain a ton of placements. None of these downhills are very long. You're not going to save yourself a ton of time by risking injury. Take your time, be safe, get down the hills, and run everything else that you can. Those of you who are crazy and going after the money, bombs away, and good luck to you. Let's see. I think that's about it. Again, there will be, I mean, hopefully you guys have all already made your travel arrangements, your lodging arrangements. I know there's a baseball tournament going on in town that same day. So there's a lot of the hotels kind of got booked up and are a little bit more expensive than they typically are in Chillicothe. So I do apologize for that. That was something I found out after we had already received all of our permits. But I'm assuming everybody basically has their accommodations accounted for by now. beyond that, any other questions from the group? I know we only have a handful of people on here, but Danny, Janelle, anybody? Sean, you got any questions?
I have one.
What's up?
Um, so in terms of like going up the hills, is it beneficial to have both of your hands free? Like in order, do you have to kind of, is it helpful to have your hands to kind of like, I don't know how
Don't.
steep it is. Uh,
Are you referring to like carrying a handheld
Instead of
water bottle or
carrying,
something?
yeah, I'm wondering if the vest is better
For
than,
me, I mean, I think risk reward. I mean, unless you're really gunning for time, I would say just wear a pack. Because you're one, you have to stop less at aid stations. Two, that first climb, Sugarloaf, at the very top of it gets extremely steep. To where you may want to pull on a tree, you may want to put your hand down a couple spots. And also when you're going down the backside of Sugarloaf, it's very steep. There is some loose rocks. There's, if it's rainy, it's going to be muddy. So I honestly, even when I'm running it hard, I'll kind of bounce from tree to tree, grabbing trees as I'm going down. So I would suggest, yeah, if especially you not being extremely versed in the trail running world, you probably want to have your hands free just in case you need to grab something to stabilize yourself. But the good thing is that that hill and that climb and descent is right in the beginning of the race. So you're not going to be extremely fatigued dealing with that. There is another pretty steep downhill that is probably, I would say, 13 and a half miles in, so close to the end. But it's fairly short. So, you're just gonna um, work your way down the steep grade for maybe 100 yards, and then it flattens out. So it's not that bad. All right. Any other questions that may come up, we're going to post this video on the event page. So if you guys come up with any other questions, obviously just ask questions in the comments on this video and we will get back to y'all. That's kind of why we wanted to get this out there, 4 weeks in advance. So it gives time for people to see it, and to ask questions. I'm sure there's probably things that I forgot to mention, that will come up as well. But for the most part, I think we covered it all. There will be a lot of swag available for purchase too. Not a lot, but some on race day. We're going to have the trucker hats like I'm wearing. We have some runner hats with the Big Deal logo. We have extra hoodies that we made available to you guys. And then the same with the volunteer shirts are really, really cool. So I'm going to have some extra one of those made as well. So if anybody wants to purchase those. The only other thing I'll say when it comes to that is when people register or when y'all registered for this race, there was an optional extra charge to add a hoodie to your order. Um, Many people did that and ordered it appropriately, put in the size of their hoodie. Everything was great. Um, there were probably 4 or 5 people that did not click the extra charge for the hoodie, but still put in a size for a hoodie. Those people do not have hoodies waiting for them if they didn't pay for them. So if that's you, anybody watching this, just look at your receipt from us. If you just paid for the cost of the race, you are not getting a hoodie. We will have some more available for purchase. But for everyone that just registered for the race, you will get a finisher shirt, a finisher medal as long as you finish. All the goodies that come in the packets, but the hoodies are $35 extra. So if you didn't pay that at registration time, I didn't want anybody to assume that just since they chose a size for a hoodie that they were going to get a hoodie. You had to click the button that says you wanted to purchase a hoodie. Um, but other than that, I think it's it. We're going to keep it short so we don't keep you guys too long. But crazy excited to see you guys in a few weeks. Danny, are you running buck 50 this year? Yeah, cool. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Anybody that's going to be at Buck 50 in 2 weeks, I'll be out there. We have a start time. I think it's 5:30. So we'll be out there running all night long. Hope to cross paths with you guys. If you guys see us as we take on the course, by all means, reach out, give us a yell. Super excited to get up there. Twice in the next month. It makes my day to run in those trails. So can't wait. Super jealous that I don't get to run this race with you guys, but very excited to host it. I'll get my fill when marking the course, I'm sure, of those hills. So if we don't have any more questions, we're going to go ahead and sign off. And then again, if you have more questions later on, just post them in the comments. We all set? All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all. See you in 4 weeks.